Hello and welcome to ILI Thrive live programming. We are so excited that you are here with us today, and we're great. We have an amazing program today. I want to introduce my co-hosts with me, Raven Luckett and Tawana Lee, and I'm Reverend Daryl Moak, and we are going to have an exciting conversation with a young man who has a story to tell, a story about his life, about trauma, sex, drugs, and recovery. And that so this is a tale that is not yet over, but it is getting so much better as he tells the story of his life. And so we are excited to have him here. We are Inner Light, and we are working very hard to end the stigma associated with mental health and substance use disorders, and particularly working to end the opioid crisis in the DMV and around the nation. And so we are glad that you're joining us today. This is our work to continue to empower and uplift our community, to raise new consciousness and bring people to a place where they are able to have the quality of life that they deserve. So I'm so excited that we have this program. We're sponsored in part by DC Health, DC Department of Health, Health HIV, and DC Department of Behavioral Health. So we are so glad that you are with us, and part of this is funded through our SAMHSA partners at the federal level. So please welcome Raven and Tawana. Where's Tawana? I don't see Tawana. There she comes. Hey, Raven, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. So Raven and Tawana. Raven is a certified addiction counselor and CAC2, and she practices in DC and in Maryland. And so we're so glad that she's a part of our team. Raven, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I have worked in the addiction field almost 25 years now. I've worked in mostly all of the genres: inpatient, outpatient, detox, transitional housing. And I'm just glad to be in the field of helping people and helping people's lives build back into something more productive and satisfying. So I'm glad to be a part of that. And I'm glad
Thank
to be a
you.
part of this as well.
Awesome. And Tawana Lee, our administrative guru and assistant, and she's just amazing in her work. She's a military mom as well, and she's a vet, also former military personnel as herself, and also married to someone in the military, and wonderful family. But she's a social worker. Tawana, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, Tawana Lee. I'm here in DC. Graduated from USC, Go Trojans. I'm a telehealth therapist at a local agency here, and I've been practicing with them since January of this year. And I just pretty much, strive to help everybody, overcome their issues of seeing them as a whole entire person. And I'm thankful to be here to hear everyone's story.
So we have in this production, our team, over 30 some odd years of working in the field in one way or another. I've been in the mental health field since my 20s, so over 30 years, or almost 30 years. And also Raven with 25 years in the addictions industry. And Tawana's on the newer end, so we're covering the span. Let me introduce to you our guest today. His name is Owen. So we're going to bring Owen in. Hello, Owen. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
It is great to have you with us today. Owen, I know we got started a little bit late and you've got to get ready to go to work. So we do want to get a chance to share your story. I got the pleasure of having a little bit of a chat with you before today to hear a bit about your story. And it is an amazing story of, I call it trauma, sex, drugs, and recovery. So let's jump right into this and tell us about yourself. Tell us your story, and then we'll have a little bit of question and answer when you're done.
Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm from Washington, D.C., born and raised originally, from Southeast, of course. I've traveled across the country and back. I've lived a good little life thus far. But before I actually got the life the settlement of living comfortable as I am now, I did go through a lot of trauma, starting within my younger years of drug abuse and things of that nature. I suffer from PTSD. I am also bipolar and dyslexia too. I'm not afraid to admit that. Where I had a lot of trouble coming up in school, I was teased a lot for being, um, gay, things of that nature, and coming up in the community and the area that I'm from, in Black families, it wasn't as accepting, to be in that light of, I would say, a special character of a person. Family abuse and things like that was more so how the PTSD started. And then getting in high school, growing up, I had a lot of little more feminine ways as a child. So it was, very, um, what I would say, easy to point out and say, oh, that little young person or however you want to label it was gay or whatever that nature. So it was it became very abusive as I got in high school. I ended up being involved in like a cult like group in high school to where the elder adult that was involved, was passing me around, sexually and things like that. So I really didn't have a sense of myself. And then, drugs came into play with that too. So I started doing heavy narcotics when I was in about 16 years old. Things like embalming fluid, which is in DC, they call it the dipper or whatever the case may be. I was doing ecstasy and had my first overdose when I was 19, turning 20. I had just found out that I was HIV positive, and that kind of took a whole whirlwind. My grandmother, rest her soul, actually found me in the living room on the floor, passed out. So I can honestly say that I definitely am much of a person that have a story to tell as far as I would say surviving suicide, because to me that was a suicide attempt. Anytime someone is putting substance in their body that doesn't belong, you're basically asking, to take your own life. So that happened then. And then, as I gradually gotten older, I started to somewhat hang out with the crowd of what I was originally bred in the nature of the cult, so to say. So I gravitated more so to people that was commonly in that light, where I got on drugs even harder, to where I had entered the world of cocaine really badly. And then it graduated from me working at a all male sex club, and I ended up picking up bad drugs habits there. Um, Started messing with crystal meth and things like that, and just had completely lost myself. By 25, I was just fully blown out on drugs. Didn't really know too much of myself. Like I said, I'm already bipolar, dyslexic, so it really was making me even, I shouldn't say, but dumber than what I already was, portrayed to be. So it was like I really had lost myself. Later on down the line, I ended up meeting my current husband, and we both, were somewhat in the same light, where we felt like we had a stronger connection with things. And to say that substance was an issue of our relationship, that would be a lie, because I actually found someone that I felt like loved me for me and allowed me to express myself in a way where I didn't necessarily have to hide who I was. And I am who I am now today because of him, honestly. Like I said, we both suffered substance abuse, but we are now, I would say, a solid 6 months clean. Have not had anything. My partner, he actually goes through kidney failure, so that's more so a lot of the reason why that happened. But I too felt like it was a time for me to change, because we both needed to wake up out of that shell. I'd be 35 in 2 weeks, so I definitely felt like it was something that I didn't want to take into a new chapter of my life. To start on a level of where not really knowing me, but finding me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That's a short version of what, 15 years of your life?
Yeah, 15, yeah.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
that's not even half of what I could have shared, but I chose some things it's just not meant to be said. And yeah,
Actually 15, almost 20, right? Um
20 stretch, yeah.
so yeah. So thank you for being willing to share your story. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about when you first started using? What was there an attraction to it? What happened that got you? I know you were in a group, a cult you were talking about. What led you there, and what was going on for you at the time? And
So at that particular time frame when I actually got involved with that group, I was going through an issue at home to where I was about to not be able to go to the school I was attending because my dad was going through a separation with my stepmother at the time. So it was an issue where they were going to transfer me from schools, and it just so happened that the gentleman who was the elder adult was like, well, let me assist with that, and I will help give this young man somewhere to live and things of that nature. So it was more so like me being pulled into that. And then, like I said, I was just somewhat a newly opened young person at that time frame. This was back when the whole rainbow thing first started out for my generation, and we were actually coming out the closet and things like that. And the gentleman was like, well, maybe I can somewhat show you how to still be a man without necessarily going out there changing your manly ways. So it was really a lot with that. And just the involvement of dealing with that elder person and the peers, trying to fit in with my peers is more so what got me into the heavy narcotics. Well, even on drugs, period, to be honest.
I'm gonna ask my co-host Tawana or Raven to pick up. And what do you think, Jen? What questions are? How might we use this to help somebody else? What are you all thinking?
Can you repeat the question, Daryl, please?
Raven, Tawana?
Can you repeat the question, Daryl?
Hello?
Daryl, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Miss Raven.
Yeah, I was wondering, I didn't hear clearly the question. The microphone wasn't going in and out.
And Miss Tawana's mute.
No, he was saying, did we have any questions? Thank you, Owen, for sharing your story. I think right now, the first question that I can come up with is, I think just starting off with the last thing that you said, that the person kind of that got you into the cult was originally supposed to be like a helping adult. If there's anything that you would like for adults and others who may have been in that situation to know, one, are there signs that you can see? And also, is there something that one feels in their body that says this isn't right and that I need to pay closer attention to?
Good question. I would say sometimes you have to basically look into what a person and what their intents are. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes some people have their own personal gain with things, and I definitely feel like not everyone who is willing to give a helping hand is being helpful in the sense of. it's more so a personal gain for them in some ways. I feel like, um, and not you cannot always see everyone as being as humble as you are either. Me personally, I am a open book. I don't mind sharing my life story. I don't mind telling people who I am or what I've been through. But I also am aware that I am who I am, and if I am who I am, then someone else can be who they are too. And I know that whatever thoughts and things that I might have, someone can have the same thoughts. So I'm very cautious as to how I go about things of allowing people me more so in my space now. But for someone else, I would say just be cautious about, of whom you really tell yourself, whom you give yourself to, or whom you open up to, because not everyone have good intentions, and those that do have good intentions sometimes doesn't know how to display them in a manner where it's appropriate, I would say.
So, Owen, let's dig a little deeper into that. So let's say that there are some young people at the age of where you first had your first overdose, right? Or younger, and they are struggling with some of the same challenges that you may have been faced with back then, around just getting along with their family, being understood. It may or may not be sexuality issues. It could just be, differences in the generations, right?
Hmm.
But they are searching and are looking. What are some things that you would say that you know now that you wish you had known then that might have kept you from going down the path that you ended up going down?
I honestly, first of all, I wish I would have known more about drugs, more so to say. I think that if schooling, it goes all into the education. If schools were to actually um, teach people about drug abuse and things of the nature, as far as what certain drugs cause and how they harm the body and things like that, I think that would be very helpful. Um, More programs in the community, more positive mentoring programs from people who have been through substance abuse before, where they actually advocate and discuss and talk about it. Um, I was in programs like Smiles and things like that, but they weren't necessarily for the community. I would say, and when I say that, I mean more so the Black community. It was more like just something for them to say that they were assisting with other little programs. And then there were places like Us Helping Us and stuff like that as well. But to me, I think it was more so a personal gain with certain organizations, not more so for the people. I believe if we actually do a little more outreaching, where people, actually go out and talk to the communities where they know predominantly it's abuse, drug abuse areas and things like that, I think that would be awesome. I have spoken, and I actually have a cousin right now whom I just was speaking with on Monday. He just tried to commit suicide from drug abuse. And so my thing to him has always been live by my example, live by things that you've seen me go through, gone through, and you are aware of me going through. Look at, where I'm at now versus compared to where I was. I was homeless. I, didn't have anything at one point in time. My family was not on my side or anything like that. So I had to somewhat find myself where I'm still finding myself. And yeah, just I definitely would tell the next person to always keep a positive light and not allow yourself to be succumbed by the darkness of others. I can't.
Sorry, I was on mute. What was the thing, Owen, that pushed you over the edge in terms of I need to do something? I can't keep doing this. My life has to change. And what was that thing? And how long did it take for you to get to a place of sobriety? Or have you gotten to a place of sobriety?
Well, I'm actually right now. I'm still in recovery as we speak. For me, it was more so losing which I have lost my grandfather back in 2018, and I was raised by both of my grandparents, and I lost my grandfather first, and I think that is actually when I went in a big spiral of heavy drug abuse. I actually had lost myself to the point where on my grandmother's birthday of 2019, I had ended up going to PIW, which is the Psychiatric Institute of Washington, because I had, overdosed then again. And that was one of the last times that I actually had a real conversation with my grandmother. And she stated to me that, no matter what I was going through, that I couldn't keep running and hiding behind something that wasn't really me. And it took me a while to understand where she was coming from when she said that, but it really made me realize that I was using drugs as an escape to hide a lot of the pain that I was going through from things that have happened previously on in years, and a lot of the relationships that I was in and things like that, and just how I wasn't, really feeling like I was finding the right job or whatever to make me feel comfortable or welcomed in my environment of. And my grandmother actually passed this past January, and before her passing, again, her and I had a conversation in December. She was actually able to talk, and she just kept telling me how proud she was of me, how she saw my change and things like that, how she knew. She just kept saying, "You're different, you're different." And I think within her saying that, I felt like that was her way of letting me know she saw better for me, that she seen me wanting better for myself. And honestly, since then, I have not been working. I've had a job since. I've been clean since, as far as like dealing with drugs. And yeah, for real, that was like really my wake up. To know where I felt like I didn't have anyone anymore. I felt like my backbone was gone. So it was time for me to like really straighten my life up to where I can stand on my own 2 feet, where I'm rooted and not feeling like that I'm just a leaf on someone else's tree.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, and I'm sorry to hear about both of your grandparents. I have all 4 of mine are gone now, and I can understand the loss of that. And my grandmother, the last one that passed, was the one that I grew up with. So I have a sense of the understanding of that void that happens. And we just celebrated her year anniversary of her passing in April. But I'm curious, you mentioned your husband. Where does your husband come in to play in your story? And how did he support you? How is he supporting you in this time? And how did you guys survive the beginning of a relationship and a marriage while you were still, using?
Um, wow, that's a whole story of its own.
We might have to have you back. We might have to have you and your husband back for this conversation, right?
Oh my gosh, that's a whole other. But to like sum it up, in the beginning, it was really rough. Because we both were still using. We actually met at the fireplace. And that was like a heavy spot at that time frame for a lot of drug abuse. And I would say throughout the years of our growth, we had to change. We lived in California for a year. We've been together 6 years. This year would be our 5th year married. We got married when I turned 30, so that was 2016. In 2016, we left and we moved to California. And in California, it was just him and I. We didn't have no one. It was just the 2 of us. We didn't know not a soul out there. And for us, that was like a really big wake-up call. Because it was like we couldn't take the same attitude in a different environment. Of course, all it takes for you to know one person, and one person can introduce you to another person, and that's how things get to rolling with stuff like that. And slowly that sort of kind of turned into being a situation where that was the case. And, you know, we began to lose ourselves to where my husband had actually had lost his job or whatever where he was working out there, and you know he had to depend on me. So he felt like, you know, because of that, that made him want to wake up out of situations, and um, he really has been moving forward since then. We actually had moved back to DC late 2017. And once we got back, we actually had been on the move of working things out. Even though substance was still in the play with certain things, it wasn't as active as before. Um, I think more so as my husband began to get sick, the drugs began to fade out more. And then it had came a point where we we were just like enough is enough. We kind of felt like we didn't know who each other was, and it was like, how are we to deal with this if we can't even really deal with whom we are? Like, we didn't know ourselves. And it, for me personally, still going through, like I said, the issues of what I was going through, and not knowing what he was fully going through, because we never really had took the time to get to know each other and sit down and talk about things, because we were always high or, you know, dealing with friends and things like that. So we never really, you know, got to know each other to know each other. And then I would say, like, around our third year of marriage, things just started going uphill. like I never felt like he was my soulmate until then. He has been my encouragement. He has stopped doing drugs. I was the one that was still using, and that was like really a big issue too, because it was like, how can we both be strong if one still does it and the other one don't? And so that played a role, because then it became a part where, you know, I was being promiscuous, and infidelity was in the play, because like I said, one wasn't doing something and the other one was. So we ended up not being in the same space with things. And it took for my grandmother, like I said, to go in the hospital when she did at that time frame, and it woke me up to say, you know, let me get myself together. And that's when I started getting myself together. And I, you know, had sat down with him and we talked, and he was like, you know what, babe, let's just get to know each other. And I looked at him like, what do you mean? But I after a while, I did understand what he meant by that. We needed to get to know each other for whom we really were. Like, actually have a sit down, have a talk, discuss what happened in your life before me, what happened in your life, what are you planning on having in your life with me now, and you know, where do you see us going from here? So yeah, like I said, that's a whole nother conversation, because I'm just trying to, like, you know, give pieces of what it is, but he's a great guy for me, and
So Owen,
I wouldn't be the person I am today without him.
So Owen, we're gonna see if we can talk to your husband and see if we can then get you guys back in on one of our podcasts in August, to see if you all are willing to share more about your life together and your history and your healing from the drugs and from the traumas in your lives. But we'll talk about that. But
Okay.
before we go, we know you've got to get ready to go to work. And I'm going to ask Raven or Tawana to jump in with the next question after this one. Can you just tell us, how hard has it been for you, and how hard is it for you right now, even to stay in recovery and avoid the drugs with things going on in their lives? How hard for someone else who may be struggling and may think they're the only one who gets it? Can you speak to how hard it is, and what's important to you? What are important things to you to help you stay sober?
I would say choice of environment and friends. That's when you actually look at who are your friends, people you consider to be your friends, because a friend is not going to give you drugs. That point blank simple. A friend is not going to see you high or see you in a comatose state, or, you know, watching you destroy yourself at this point. So to me, it's really based on the company you keep. At this point in my life, I'm a loner, and I never felt more good about myself now than I ever did before. Like, it really gives me time to, think things through, to, really see myself for who I am. I never thought that would come a day, but sometimes it takes being alone to actually understand your life itself, I think. So, and never be afraid to actually give yourself that space. Not to say that we don't need friends, because we all need a shoulder to cry on. So it's always good to have that one or two. But sometimes it's always best to take time to yourself and, just evaluate who you are, what you could be, and, how much better you want for yourself. I would say.
Thanks. I have one more question, but I'm gonna get Tawana, Raven. I'm gonna let you. I want y'all to jump in here. So I've already dominated the conversation, but Raven, Tawana.
Owen, thank you so much for sharing your story and your life, and being transparent with us. And I hear the different motivations that helped you to get to the point, that drove you to that point, and then helps you stay, with the forecast of your future, I would say. But I want to know specifically, we want to know specifically what you're doing actually in recovery. Do you have a home group? Do you go to NA or AA every day, or on a regular basis? Do you have a sponsor? Are you doing step work? Are I mean, what exactly are you doing in recovery? And who are you doing it with? I understand that you're saying that the friends and the environment and all of that is important. Absolutely. But what are you doing in your recovery experience, as far as recovery is concerned, as it's mapped out, with the suggestive set of suggestions to go to meetings, get a sponsor, build a network of positive people to help you along your journey. I mean, what exactly are you doing, and how's that working for you in your life today?
Well, I am involved in a couple of groups, where it's one group that I'm in called HEPI, which is HIV Education Through Peer Interaction. I was involved in that with a gentleman by the name of Tony Barnes. Derek Cox and I are actually, one of his main spokespeople for the group. So that was something that is, helping as far as the aspect of the outreach and portion of the situation. Currently, at this moment, I don't have a sponsor, which I have had one before, and I was going into treatment and things like that. I personally had shied away from actually getting involved with programs and things like that, because I feel like that, there are moments where they are there for you and things like that, but they kind of can become a little too personal when which that's the goal, but it kind of rubs off a little bit of the wrong way. So I am really cool with certain people where I'm comfortable enough to express and things like that. I do have a lot of positive role models in my life to where I'm able to just, sit and discuss things with them. So they're somewhat my go-to for certain things. I have what you would call a gay father or things like that, and so I go and I talk with him, and then I have my big brother Richard, which I met him in a Big Brother program, actually a few years back in my teen years. I was in a Big Brother program and actually met him, and he's still my big brother to this day. So I speak with him in regards to things about that, and I have a strong support team. Like my family is behind me 100%. So that's really my go-to.
So what I hear you saying is that you're not really.
The Narcotics Anonymous program and the process of going through Narcotics Anonymous. You're not
No,
trusting that process.
well, with Narcotics Anonymous, groups like that, they it's even though they say it's anonymous, it's really not, because your work can actually get that information. I've been in programs before where they can actually get information. Your job can actually contain that information if so be. So I wouldn't want to go through situations like that. I just don't feel as comfortable as I used to be with certain, groups like that. Like I said, nothing against them. I don't knock anyone for going through the programs, but they are just not for me.
So what I hear you saying, Owen, is that you've got a strong network of, there are no secrets. Your drug usage, your past experiences are not a secret. And so your family, your big brother, your gay family, your husband, and this group that you're in. And I want you to say the name of the group again a little slower so we can make sure folks get it. And how people can, how some other young people in the community might be able to connect with that group again. But it sounds like you've got a network around you. So you're doing a form of some of the things we recommend. You've sort of put it together in your own hodgepodge kind of way. What's the name of the group?
It's called HEPI, HEPI. It stands for HIV Education Through Peer Interaction, but it's not necessarily just the stem of HIV. It's, it stimulates conversations based on whatever the person might be going through. It's just a healthy way of talking with someone that's somewhat walking the same walk of life as you. Where like now we're having a conversation about me going through what I've been through. Someone else could have gone through the same thing as well. So it gives you a comfortable space to where you're able to talk about it with someone else. So that way you can somewhat have an understanding of what their methods of coping with and how they got over it and things like that, because each one teach one. And we learn better by experience. We learn better from others' experience.
Well, listen, you know what? I know you've got to get ready to go to work, and we got started a little bit late today. We're going to continue. Tawan and Raven and I are going to keep talking a little bit about how more people who are watching this podcast are able to get help and get connected. You'll see on the bottom that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can like us on Facebook, but also we're also running our banner for if you need help and you need to get support, you need to get into mental health or some other treatment, you can contact the DC Department of Behavioral Health helpline. And we're going to run that banner along the bottom so that you can get that number and call. That number is open 24/7. So if you need the number or someone needs that number, 1-888-7-WE-HELP. 888-7-WE-HELP it's a great way to get connected. Someone will get you connected wherever you need to be connected. You can also call the mayor's hotline of 311 and get yourself connected as well. We're doing a lot of programming around ending the opioid crisis, addressing the stigma associated with HIV, along with substance use and mental health disorders. And we are so glad, Owen, that you took this time to be with us today. And we definitely want to have more conversation with you. We want to have some conversation with your hippie folks. and really, we really are about making sure that people know that whatever spiritual practice you have, if any, that there is no shame or stigma in the lives that you've had. There is and there are opportunities for you to have the life that you want and to thrive and to have the quality of life that you are looking for. So, Owen, thank you so much for being with us today. Tawana, Raven, let's talk a little bit more about resources that are out there. So, Owen, final words from you.
I appreciate you guys having me this evening, and I thank you for allowing me to share my story.
And definitely talk to your hubby about coming back, and we'll be in touch.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. So we also want to let you know that Inner Light Inc. will be involved with the Place of Worship Advisory Board's annual Community Day and Health Fair on August 28th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's going to be at the Temple of Praise on Southern Avenue and we are inviting everyone to come out. We are going to have some amazing opportunities there. Council Member Trayon White Sr. will be there with us. There'll be other faith leaders that are there with us, but we also are going to have a mobile store where you can get food. We're going to give away fresh fruits and vegetables, and other things are coming every day. We have some giveaways, some prizes, a lot of fun that's going to be had. Free food. We're going to be giving away fish sandwiches and hot dogs, veggie burgers, whatever. It's going to be a great time for the whole family. A lot of things. We're giving away backpacks for the kids as well for going into school. So you definitely want to join us on August 28th. I'll be there. Tawana will be there. I'm hoping Raven's going to be there with us. We're going to be doing some demonstrations and information on how you can save a life, how you can actually reverse an overdose of an opioid, and we will have the kits available for you to take yourselves, and we're going to show you how to use them. And then you'll be able to take some kits so that if anyone in your family, your community, your neighborhood, your area, anywhere that you are, happens to have an overdose of an opioid, you'll be able to reverse that and save a life. So that's the work that we're doing. That's what we're here for. That's what we're called to these days. So Raven, you were talking to Owen about other programs and things that are more formalized ways of getting support. Can you share more about what some of those things are? And then Tawana, I want to talk with you more about some of the things you're experiencing on your job with the people you're working with and what's going on in the current industry that you're seeing. Raven?
Well, I mean, if you're actually in need for some help, just like Owen was saying, some people are open to certain avenues and some people are not. I teach my clients that there's no right or wrong way to recover. There's a suggested ways, and if the ways that you're using is not working, because it's no longer about right or wrong. I teach working or not working. If what you're doing is working for you, then continue to do it. If you have a support network that's working for you and that's working fine, I'm a stickler myself personally. I don't fix nothing that ain't broke. So if that's working for you, then good. However, if that's no longer working for you, we just suggest that you try to become open to try another avenue, to try something different. So when you're talking about trying something different, we have some of the information scrolling at the bottom of the screen. DBH is open, to help to assess. All of the treatment centers in the city are open to assess. What it's about is coming in, talking about where you are and where you want to be. And then we're talking about placement in the right situation and the right opportunities to come to you to let us all help. Some people need therapy, some people need medical assistance, some people need mental health, some people need detox. So it's a determination of being assessed and trying to be honest so that we can assess you properly so that you can get the help that you need. If you choose to go to Narcotics Anonymous, you can go online and find the Narcotics Anonymous meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, where in alcohol, they really want to keep your, sharing and everything confined to, problems with alcohol. Narcotics Anonymous, you can talk about whatever you're addicted to, and it's open. And you can talk about what meetings are open formally as far as the pandemic, has closed down some stuff. Some stuff is open back up. All of the Zoom meetings are online, which you can do in the comforts of your home or wherever you're comfortable, in the park, out back, on your deck, on your balcony, or wherever you can go to meetings. They have meetings that are all night long, marathon meetings. So you can join meetings all over the world and stay connected, and you can hear that you're not alone, that there are other people out there going through the struggles that you're going through. And you can connect with them. The numbers, they ask you for your phone number, put your number in the chat, and you can get the help that you need to stay connected, to build some supportive people to support your ventures in whatever's going on with you. So the stuff is, all of that information is absolutely on the internet.
Thank you so much, Raven.
That'll be great.
Thank you.
Help us help you.
Tawana, last words from you for the day. What are you seeing? What do you want to say? What are you encouraging people to do around substance use, mental health, opioids. What do you want to inspire people with today?
So my clientele still hasn't changed. But for those of you who are seeing me for the first time, so my agency does deal with both mental health issues and substance abuse. But the clients that I have mostly are dealing with some substances, but primarily the number one issue for them is homelessness. So in order for me to get through with whatever their depression, their anxieties, their traumas, or whatever, their number one focus right now is finding a home or finding employment. So whether you're dealing with a mental health disorder, substance abuse, opioids, or whatever, what I would say as a therapist is stick through the difficulties and do your best to be dedicated. If you have that support system, particularly the professionals, try your hardest to be dedicated to the assistance that is being given to you. Because that's definitely the hardest. We all understand that a home is everyone's number one priority. You can't focus on anything if you don't have a place to live, if you don't have anything to eat. But that's something that's out of a lot of people's control, but you can at least show up for yourself. You can show up to your meetings, you can show up to therapy, you can, participate in the care that's being given to you. But know that we all are here to help, we care, you are created for a purpose, and we are here to assist you to see that purpose through.
Thank you so much, Tawana. Thank you, Tawana. Thank you, Raven. We want to say thank you to Kayla McIntosh in our background, who is helping us with our tech today. Thank you so much. We want to say thank you to DC Department of Behavioral Health, and especially their faith community programming. We want to thank our DC Department of Health. We want to thank Health HIV, and we want to thank SAMHSA for your generous support of the work that we're doing in order to be partners with the district and with the government to end the opioid crisis in DC and everywhere else, but also to really be a part of the U equals U movement and the ending the HIV epidemic in our lifetime, as well as reducing the stigma, eliminating stigma associated with mental health and substance use. We say at Inner Light, we see the God in you because we love you. And the one thing we can say is that we know that it's hard, and everyone may not have had the same experiences. All of us may not have had a struggle with substances or mental health issues, but it doesn't mean that we don't get how hard it is to get the right help, to be open to it, to get the support that you need, especially in communities where getting help is not the norm, or where using is the norm. And so just understand that there is a life waiting for you, that the quality of life that you want and that you deserve is available, and that we are here to help. We will guide you, we'll point you in the right direction. You can check us out on our Facebook page. You can send a message to us privately through our Facebook page. You can also reach us at innerlightinc1@gmail.com, innerlightinc1@gmail.com. And if you're looking for something or you need some assistance, we will most definitely get you connected to the places where you need the most. We hope to see you again on one of our next lives. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being part of this extended family, this great opportunity to thrive with Inner Light. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed day.